And you notice different events are happening here. And the question is, it's not a spokesman for the Jewish people that, went on vacation for 2 days, came back another day, and you see maybe the events or the matters happening here seem to be maybe disconnected. For instance, the parak opens up with Shlomo marrying the daughter of Paro. And then the building of the Beit HaMikdash, his palace, the wall around Yerushalayim. And then we see the people of Israel, they have their own private altars, which we said is permissible, right? Permissible. Because the Beit HaMikdash is unbuilt. And we learn about the devotion of Shlomo, how much he loves God, to do the Torah and mitzvot. And then we see that he went, not on a trip, not on a hike, but he traveled from Yerushalayim to a place called Givon to bring offerings. And the Tanakh even mentions 1,000 offerings, which is outstanding, humongous in number. And then he merits a revelation from God. And God says, what would you like to have? Think of a gift. You choose. And all this, of course, is prophecy in a dream, absolutely. And then we see the response of Shlomo, what he's asking for, Leiv Shomea, to judge the nation. And it finds favor in God. And God awards him. And then we get to the second half of the chapter, which is Mishpat Shlomo, okay? The court case that Shlomo rules over. Can you please bring me a needle and thread so we can sew together all these pieces of the parak? Why is it like this? So first of all, we said in our last shiur, marrying Bat Paro, as Rav Mali taught me, Rav Eli Mali, Mori Rabbi in Tanakh. Shlomo is looking into the future, and has a very noble, high-level dream, prophecy from God, or he understands the Torah, that the Torah of the Jewish people is the focal point for the world, the center for the world. And the rays of light are to be rendered to the nations of the world. Like we're learning about Avram's name change, Av Hamon Gayim, a father of the multitude of nations. So he's interested, Litaken Olam b'Malchut Shaddai. That's what he's interested in. He's a powerful man. Israel's reached economic heights, security heights, religious heights, social, economically, they're living in the best times. He understands in his amazing chokhmah that this is the time to bring nations closer to the belief of one God. And he starts off with marrying a Gioret from the country of Egypt, who is the ruling power in the world, the empire in the world, was then during Avram Avinu's time and is now during this time as well. Okay? Aram Damascus and Babylon, they're not as powerful and as substantial as the Egyptian empire at this time.
So the Egyptian empire was stronger than Shlomo? Or
no, it is very strong, but they're at peace with us. They respect us. They saw the military power of the nation through the arms and the hands of David, and they didn't fight.
Just like now.
Now, that's part one. Interesting that once she joins, Shlomo is active building the Beit HaMikdash. Yes, we learned, and Chazal and Rashi brought in the name of Chazal, that he delayed for 4 years the building of the Beit HaMikdash. In fact, I want to bring to your attention, the order of the events here are not according to chronological order. Rashi says that once he started building the Beit HaMikdash, that's when he went ahead to marry Bat Paro, the daughter of Bat Paro. And therefore, this section is not in chronological order, and that's according to the Midrash of Seder Olam. Right? We have a Midrashic book called Seder Olam, which is the order of the world. So that's happening. Number 2, Shlomo loves God. Wow. Is that a chidush for us? Is that a novelty? We know that he loves God. But apparently, it's Shlomo as king. It's one thing when you're a youngster, you don't have the imposition, the weight, the burden of the nation on your shoulders. Now he's king, and he's loving Hashem. He's full of devotion. He's full of action. And we're told that he has his own bamot as well, his own private altars. Now, why do you think in his backyard he has his own private altar? It's convenient. It's certainly allowed. Once the Mishkan in Shiloh is destroyed, what was forbidden then to have private altars is now permissible, as long as you don't have a Beit HaMikdash. Private altars for bringing korbanot. By the way, we didn't mention, what type of korbanot can you bring on a private altar? Mishnah Masechet Megillah. Nidarim and nidavot. Voluntary offerings. Obligatory offerings are not to be brought on a private altar, only on the central altar. Where is in this time the central altar? Givon. Did we ever ask why? Why is it in Givon?
Because Givon is typically a place where everyone would do it.
Why, after Shiloh is destroyed, and then the central altar was moved to Nov, we don't have a clear answer also from the Tanakh. Why was it brought to Nov in the corridor next to Mount Olives? But you probably can tell me, Givon is the city of who?
Benjamin.
In the tribe of Benjamin, and the city who was living there? The Givonim. The Givonim. The Givonim, Shaul, King Saul, as we learned in Sefer Shmuel, he understood that the Givonim are collaborating with David. He accepted this Lashon Hara, and that's when Shaul wanted to kill not only Kohanim working in Givon, working in Nov, in Nov, it was in Nov. But he killed also the Givonites. Okay? Do you remember that there was a tremendous plague to the Jewish people, and no one knew what's the source of the problem until God appears and says, because Givonim were killed. These are non-Jews that were water carriers, wood cutters for the Mishkan in Nov. Okay? And who had to be handed over? 7 sons of Shaul. This is when, after Nov is destroyed, the Mishkan, the major altar, when I said the central altar, is moved from Nov to Givon. Maybe that's the answer, Rav Mali explains. It's the antithesis. What happened to the Mishkan in Nov? It was destroyed, unfortunately, because of the killing of Kohanim and Givonim by Shaul. Shaul is running after David out of such jealousy, out of hatred he has for him. He couldn't overcome the jealousy and enmity that he had. So maybe we have what's called in Hebrew Tshuvat HaMishkal. What is the proper response to show that killing these Givonim, these non-Jews, in the town called Nov is not right? We're going to build the central altar where? In the town where they live, the Givonites. Okay, just for your knowledge, maybe you remember in the book of Joshua, the Givonites are a Canaanite entity that tricked the leadership of Israel into believing they're coming from far away and that they're not a Canaanite entity. And Israel already, through Joshua, entered into a pact, a treaty. We'll scratch your back, you'll scratch our back. We're entering into a treaty, and that will save you in any time that there's a danger to you. And then, even though that trap was publicized, we still have to keep our end of the bargain, and a word is a word of the Jewish people. We can't desecrate God's name. And maybe that explains why the central altar is in Givon. This is like tshuva, vis-a-vis the entity called the Givonim. That's where the central altar. A second reason might be, Rav Mali suggests, it's close by to Yerushalayim.
So why didn't they bring it to Yerushalayim?
Oh, okay. That brings us to the next subject.
No, I'm talking about why did they not bring it years before?
I'm going to treat this matter. After, when Shlomo Melech, as a young king, is offering 1,000 offerings, he's generating closeness to God. There's an immediate result. That night, he receives a dream, a prophetic dream. And God offers to him, what would you like to have? And we see what he asks for. Now, it's clear as far as the physical health of the Jewish people, the more korbanot that we bring, the more material affluence there's going to be for the Jewish people. Serving God has two sides to it. There's the physical side and the spiritual side. The physical side is bringing offerings on top of the altar. The spiritual side is related to a vessel that's the most holy kli that we have, and that is the Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Ark, which stores the tablets, right, and the broken tablets, and two opinions in Baba Batra, is the Sefer Torah on the shelf inside or is it on the shelf outside? But the spiritual upliftment of the Jewish people is via the Aron HaKodesh. The Aron HaKodesh, we don't serve God with the Aron HaKodesh, but right now it's placed in Yerushalayim. And your question is, why aren't they unified? Okay? So we're going to deal with this question right now and understanding when David brings the ark eventually, which was in captivity to the Plishtim. Okay, the ark does go to Yerushalayim, but the Mizbeach has remained for how many years in Givon? The Rambam brings it. I forgot where I had it. You should know, in Givon, it's there for 45 years. After Nov, it was in it for 11 or 12 years. Okay? So, your question is, after Nov was destroyed by Saul, why wasn't the central altar brought to Yerushalayim, where eventually David brought the what? The ark to there. The question is, we have a national broken situation. The physical and the spiritual entities of Israel are not unified enough. Ultimately, God's divine presence will come when there's going to be a Beit HaMikdash. And if we have a Beit HaMikdash, it reflects the unity of the nation. When we don't have a Beit HaMikdash, a holy temple, that reflects that we're lacking. Okay? Where does the divine presence come from? As some of you remember, the Torah says in the book of Shemot, and I will meet you there, in between the what? The wing expansion of the Kruvim, the cherubites, on top of the ark. But until the nation does not fix, there's a break in the nation. There's not enough unity in the nation. During the time of this crisis goes on during the time of Saul and David. So too during good periods of David. So the answer to your question, why isn't the Mizbeach brought from Givon to Yerushalayim next to the ark? It's not a technical matter that we didn't have a truck those days or those years to transport it. But rather, this is reflecting a lack of unity of the nation. And right now, we're not ready for the Shekhinah, God's divine presence, to come upon Israel. When it will happen, when it will happen, this is now the period of time. Shlomo HaMelech has now undergone building the Beit HaMikdash. He's going to build his own palace thereafter. And then, in other words, in the period of Shlomo HaMelech, there is national unity. So what does he do to arouse connection? 1,000 sacrifices in Givon. After he gets his prophecy, do you notice what he does? Let's skip to verse 15. Vayikatz Shlomo v'nei chalom. It sounds like Paro. Paro woke up from his dream. Well, now I understand what happened. Here too, Shlomo wakes up from his sleep. V'nei chalom, and behold, he realizes that he had not just a dream, but what do we call this? A prophetic dream? Prophecy. After Shlomo understands that he just was rewarded with prophecy, what is the first thing that Shlomo does? He travels to Yerushalayim in verse 15, and he stands before the Holy Ark. Why? Because Shlomo is interested in bringing an appearance of the divine presence. It's not enough to be offering 1,000 offerings in Givon by the altar, but the place of the source of spirituality, of utmost holiness in this building that he has for storing the Holy Ark, there can be some sort of level of Hashrat HaShekhinah, the appearance of the divine presence, and therefore that's exactly what he does.
Okay, so why Dafka just the Rome and not everything? Why?
So Shlomo is interested in building the Beit HaMikdash. That is called everything. David, his father, wanted to build it, but God told Natan the prophet, stop him. It's not his job. It's the job of Shlomo. So right now, he's a young king. Some say this part of the parak is already at the age of 16 years old. 4 years have elapsed ever since he's taken office as the king over Israel. And now he's beginning the beginning the building of the Beit HaMikdash. It's after this prophecy. He gets amazing wisdom. A wisdom to understand the truth and to transmit the truth. He will be handing over the oral Torah. So immediately after the dream, he makes a decision to go back to Yerushalayim and stand before the Holy Ark and even offer in his backyard there offerings, olot, shlamim, and he makes even a party. In other words, Shlomo reaches now a higher level of completeness. When you bring shlamim, it's a function of happiness, because there's shalom and it's shalem and it's complete. So here, the party that he's making, do you know that Chazal say, when you finish the Torah, you have a siyum, make a conclusion. If it's Torah, Tanakh, Mishnah, Gemara. So here, the Kohelet Rabbah Midrash states, here is the source. He apparently made a siyum. He completed learning the Torah that day or that night. And he made a su'udah. He made a party. And he brought olot. He brought shlamim offerings. And from here, the Talmud, the Midrash says, from here we learn, we make a su'udah ligomra shel Torah. On Simchat Torah, okay, one of the matters that we have, and it's brought in the Shulchan Aruch, we just finished reading the 5 books. And that's part of the happiness. We're dancing with the Sefer Torah, expressing our happiness. And usually the person's called up to the Torah, donate monies in order to provide the party for the siyum of the Torah. Unfortunately, we were so troubled that day when the war broke out. But this is the source. Do you know what they said about the Vilna Gaon? Do you know why he's called the Gaon genius? He would make a siyum of Shas once every 30 days. He'd go through thousands of pages of Gemara in 1 month. We don't understand the greatness. We can't absorb. Rav Kook studied in depth 60 pages of Gemara a day. 60. In depth. Not simple understanding, but in depth. That's why it's called the Gaon. It's hard for us to understand how great these scholars were. Here Shlomo Melech's doing a siyum. He's making a conclusion in his study. So my dear friends, we can see here a new situation. The spiritual and the physical of the Mishkan are coming together. This apparently is reflecting national unity. The nation is now ready. Although the Bizbeach is in Givon, the altar, the Aron is in the city of Yerushalayim. And now we're bringing things together. Okay? So we'll stop here and continue.